I like when superheroes have a life outside of superheroing. One of my favorite examples of superheroes just being people who have extraordinary lives is the little mini arc, the Super Friends. And it mainly involves Bruce, Lena, Clark, and Lois going out on a double date. This feels realistic to couples. Like, how do you navigate your old relationships, your old friendships, with you now being in a serious, committed relationship with another person? Deal with that. What is the relationship like? So, the plot of this mini arc is kicked off when we learn that Bruce hasn't called Clark ever since he got engaged. Here's the thing. Clark knows how Bruce acts. Clark knows that Bruce is not somebody to share his feelings all willy-nilly. But there's part of him that's still kind of hurt that Bruce didn't call him after his engagement. And he's very willing to not do anything about it. But it shows you kind of how good Lois and Clark are together, because Lois is the one who really says, like, no. You have to call him. He's like, but he's engaged, and that's just not how he is. But no. No. You have to call him. He should call, but you should call too. There's something very relatable about this, is that it's a weird awkwardness where it's like, Bruce and Clark have been work friends up to this point. Like, they've enjoyed spending time with each other. They generally like each other's presence, but they haven't crossed over in that level of like being personal friends. And maybe it's just a guy thing that they need somebody else to encourage them to be a little bit emotionally vulnerable. It doesn't help that there's a part of Bruce in this comic that's actually a little bit worried Clark won't like Selena. But they finally bite the bullet and decide to meet up for the first time. By the way, it should be noted that Selena immediately clocks that Superman is Clark Kent. So what do the pair do? They go to a carnival. A superhero-themed carnival. They didn't know that part. So, thinking last minute, they dress up in each other's costumes, which I find very charming and funny. So there's always been a little bit of a famous problem with Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent depicted artistically. Generally, they're supposed to be attractive, dark-haired Caucasian men. And less talented artists have a tendency to draw them to look exactly the same. I must commend the artist Clayman, differentiating Bruce and Clark enough that they look different even if they're wearing each other's costumes. So the rest of the issue is taken up by them at a carnival, just bonding with each other as friends. One of my favorite scenes is Clark and Bruce at the batting cages, getting into a competition about who could hit better. One of my favorite moments is that Bruce and Clark get into a debate about baseball. Listen, Bruce and Clark both great athletes, and they complain about the pitching machine not being fast enough. And Clark wryly comments that, he could pitch. Bruce says that he thinks he could hit Superman's pitch. It's banter, it's fun, they're friends. They're getting to know each other better. The people who hit it off surprisingly really well is Lois and Selena. Almost immediately, in fact. I mean, it makes sense. They're both tough-talking girls who don't take shit from nobody. Immediately bond over their strange and weird lives. I like this scene. I think it's funny. What's another thing people do at carnivals? That's right, they go to the Tunnel of Love. We get to see the differences between the two couples. Clark and Lois, who have had a long, stable relationship with each other, ride through the Tunnel of Love like this. Whereas Bruce and Selena ride through the Tunnel of Love like this. Listen, first of all, this is very funny. This is a hilarious... It really did make me think that in many ways, both Bruce and Selena never got to be teenagers. And for the first time in their lives, they get to act like teenagers in love. I'm so happy these two are getting married. That feels like such a natural bit of character development for these two characters. God, won't that be nice? The only bit of action is that there's a purse thief at the carnival. There's a pretty fun scene where Bruce and Clark work together to stop him very quickly and discreetly. And the issue ends with the boys going to a baseball field to see if Bruce can actually hit a pitch off of Clark. I love these two issues. I really like this theme of balancing out a normal everyday life with the fantastic. I believe it makes the fantastic even more fantastic and the normal life even more special. A byword that gets thrown around in superhero media is we need to make this more realistic. And people's idea of making things more realistic is like, Marvin and Wendy from the Super Friends? You know how they have a dog called Wonder Dog? Well, to prove that comics aren't for just little babies, Wonder Dog actually eats and kills Marvin in the comics. Pretty intense, right? Yeah, I think so. But I think there's a better version of realism out there, and an issue like this proves it. Realism shouldn't be about, when I say I like realism stories, I don't mean that superheroes have to go around gunning down every supervillain that comes into the path. No. What I want is just characters living their lives, dealing with real issues, trying to balance friendships and loss. Superheroes and comics can only be improved by like really taking seriously what people's lives are actually like. Like, the world of a person doesn't have to be realistic, but darn it, the soul does. The interior life. You should strive for realism there.